Welcome to Deckbuilding Tutor, where we analyze a commander and find the best cards for it. My name is Nick, and I'm your guide for today. I've received feedback that I should refrain from making jokes with dry humor that leaves a bad taste. I sincerely apologize for this from the bottom of my heart. But it will happen again. Just kidding, I'll stop now. On to the video. This tutorial is about Mr. Foxglove, the secondary commander from the Bloomborough Group Hog Precon. Cheat out creatures like there's no tomorrow, or draw ungodly amounts of cards. This commander brings out so much big creatures onto the board. Mr. Foxglove is Doctor Strange, opening portals in Avengers Endgame. This commander is really fun. I wish they built the precon around this card instead. Mr. Foxglove is a 5-mana value banned commander that can cheat out a creature from your hand when you attack an opponent with equal or lesser hand size than you. Or, you can draw a card until you have equal hand size as that player. This commander is very resilient because of that built-in card draw, and it can abuse creatures with big enter the battlefield effects. I'm a bit surprised that it doesn't get that much hype. Of course, I created an alternate art card for it with Rengar, Guardian of the Sand skin.
Listen.
I will be adding a link in the description so my students can get all the alternate art cards I created. This deck's game plan is pretty straightforward. Just ramp to rush Mr. Foxglove out. The turn after that, we immediately attack an opponent with equal or lesser hand size. Then, bring out the best creature in our hand for free. During our turns, we generally want to keep our hand size big whenever we attack, so we can always trigger Foxglove ability that cheats out the creature. This means that we usually play spells and lands only during the second main phase. Because we will often play creatures with Mr. Foxglove, we can use our open mana to protect our board with the colors blue and white, such as Counterspells. We aim to win through outvaluing our opponents and dealing combat damage. You can also add creatures here that have infinite combos if you're interested in that. Of course, to capitalize on Mr. Foxglove ability, we have a lot of big mana value creatures. You can basically add any big mana creature you want that I wasn't able to include in the deck list. Honestly, just find a big creature that you think is fun, add it to the deck, and it will probably work out well. Heck, you can even add Eldrazi's to the deck if you have money to burn. The absolute best creature in this deck is Medomai the Ageless. This card gives us 2 turns per round. Assuming this stays on the board, having just an extra turn is strong enough. Do that every round and that's just straight up broken. That means we get additional draw, main phase, combat, and of course Foxglove trigger among other things. We have creatures that will generate us a swarm of tokens that can single-handedly win games. Coma spawns a 3/3 token during each upkeep, every single turn. This card can get us a big board really fast. It can even gain indestructible or tap our opponent's permanents, including lands. We can deny opponents a source of mana if we want to. Galta and Maverin is a 12/12 trampler that can also spawn another big dinosaur with trample. Giant Adaphage is a 7/7 trampler that creates copies of itself whenever it deals combat damage to a player. This makes our copies of it grow exponentially. We want big creatures that draw us a shit ton of cards. Arcanist draws us 3 additional cards per turn, Nezahal draws us a card whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, and Azor draws us cards whenever it attacks. We need to pay mana, but we'll often have mana to spare because we don't play cards on the first main phase. We can resolve Arcanist or Azor's abilities first before we resolve Foxglove's ability so we can draw into a big creature and cheat it out. We have big creatures that act as removal or even a pseudo counterspell. Hullbreaker Horror can return a target spell on the stack to its owner's hand, or bounce target non-land permanent. We can abuse ETBs such as Terrasodon, which can destroy non-creature permanents. This card can even target lands. This can possibly cripple opponents that don't have enough mana fixing. Another ETB effect is Angel of the Ruins ability, which can exile 2 artifacts and/or enchantments. In order to end games easier, we have creatures that have overrun effects that will buff and give all our creatures trample. Or, we can simply make them unblockable with Archetype of Imagination. We can also double Foxglove's ability to either draw first, then cheat out a creature, or just cheat out 2 creatures in the same turn. Finest Hour allows Foxglove to attack twice for 2 triggers. Then, Psionic Resonator can also copy Mr. Foxglove's triggered ability. We have more card advantage spells to help keep a bigger hand than our opponents. We have the option to use wheel effects or just generic card advantage spells. Wheel spells like Windfall can definitely guarantee that we have equal hand size to our opponents, whilst also getting us new cards in hand. However, keep in mind that cards like these can also help our opponents. In my opinion, it's better to use generic card advantage spells like Fact or Fiction. Return of the Wildspeaker, Garruk, Rishkar's Expertise, and Prime Zigana can draw us a lot of cards when we have played a big power creature with Foxglove. Rishkar's Expertise even allows you to cast a 5 mana value spell from your hand after drawing. Keep in mind that these cards are only good if you have a creature with big power on board. If you don't like that condition, feel free to replace these cards. In the scenario that it's hard to trigger Foxglove's ability, we have alternative creatures that does a similar effect. Osier Kaslem and Emergent Woodworm can dig through the top of our deck and cheat out a creature. Of course, having tutors is oftentimes stronger than just drawing cards. We can immediately get our strongest creatures in the deck, like Medomai and Koma, then cheat it out with Foxglove. Threats Undetected and Shared Summons can even tutor us to creature cards. Shared Summons is usually used to get creatures with infinite combos. You can add some to your deck if you want to. There will be instances when we can't swing that easily with Mr. Foxglove. That's why we need cards that give him Evasion. Aquai's Form, Brotherhood Regalia, Trailblazer's Boots, and Whisper Silk Cloak can allow Foxglove to become unblockable. Regalia and Whisper Silk Cloak even has the added protection of Ward or Shroud. Mr. Foxglove might be a kill-on-sight commander, so we have Preemptive Protection cards like Pippin and Skrelv. We can play these cards before we play Mr. Foxglove, and we can immediately protect him from removal whilst also allowing him to have Evasion. Of course, once we have developed our board with a lot of big creatures, we must maintain that board state in order to win. We have anti-wrath cards like Selfless Spirit, Dauntless Escort, and Boromir. These cards are good because we don't have to leave open mana to respond to a wrath. More preemptive protection cards like Goldforged Thopterix and Shalai. Thopterix gives our legendary creatures Ward 2, and Shalai gives our other creatures Hexproof. There are even instances where we can just use our mana for its activated ability to buff all our creatures. Of course, you can never go wrong with the classic Counterspells to just say fuck you to removal and board wipes. Since we are usually playing with big creatures with Foxglove, we will often have open mana for Counterspells. For removal, we can use creatures that destroys or exiles permanents when they enter the battlefield, or use generic instant speed removal spells. Generous Gift and Stroke of Midnight for destroying most kinds of permanents, Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares for exiling creatures. Terrasodon can destroy 3 non-creature permanents. You can usually use this to destroy 3 lands against multicolor decks. Kogla, the Titan Ape, fights a creature when it enters the battlefield. Then, it can remove an artifact or enchantment whenever it attacks. Amphion Mutineer can exile a creature and even has Encore. Which Enchanter destroys an artifact or enchantment. It can even be used as a land that enters untapped. We have usual ramp spells in green, 2 CMC spells like Rampant Growth, Sakura Tribe Elder, Farseek, and Nature's Lore. 3 CMC spells that fixes our colors, Harrow, Entish Restoration, and Springboom Druid. I want to highlight ramp cards that also help maintain our hand size. Helga can tap for X mana, which can be used to play high mana spells, then draw us a card. Kodama's Reach and Cultivate ramps us and also gets a land to our hand. As you've learned, we need to maintain a higher hand size than our opponents. That's why we have 12 card advantage spells and 5 tutors. We usually tutor for Medomai for extra turns, Coma to build a bigger board, Arcanist for card draw, and finally Kamal to end games. Of course, we should have a lot of high mana value creatures that we can cheat out with Foxglove. We have 19 creatures that cost 5 or more mana. To be able to attack often with Mr. Foxglove, this deck has 4 evasion cards, then we have 12 ramp spells, 10 removal, 3 anti-wrath, and 4 counterspells. It is up to you to use what you have learned in this video to add cards in these categories. If you think the card advantage isn't enough, feel free to add more. If you have fun creatures in mind, just add it. The sky's the limit with this commander. I would also note that there is another variation of this deck or this commander that is focused on filtering your hand. You can add cards that can let you discard unwanted cards from your hand in response to Foxglove's ability. This way, you can filter the cards in your hand instead of cheating out a creature. And that's all for Mr. Foxglove. I love just looking for the biggest creatures that I can add to this deck. Getting big creatures out for free is one of the most satisfying things you can do. Having open mana for counterspells also helps us maintain our board state without worry and just constantly attack. I hope you have learned a lot from this tutorial and explore more ways to build it. There are many creatures you can add to this deck, so I hope you find what's fun and what works best for you. This has been Deckbuilding Tutor. Thanks for watching my video. If you want to support me and this channel, please consider to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.